and participate fitfully in the observances. And it's signed Matthew C. Mensch, Mayor, Township of Bridgewater. Thank you, Mayor. We now move to the next item, which is item 7, which is the public hearing on property maintenance at 1041 Route 202-206, also known as Block 483, Lot 17. And reading the beginning of the resolution, and then I'll turn it over to Chris Corsini. Authorizing the Township Deputy Zoning Officer / Construction Code Official to oversee and direct the removal of the violation in compliance with Chapter 105 of the Bridgewater Township ordinances, and authorizing the remediation of the conditions on the property owned by AR Bridgewater 2 and known as 1041 Route 202-206, Block 483, Lot 17, and further certifying that the cost to be charged against the premises and become a tax lien in the sum to be determined, and further authorizing the Deputy Zoning Officer / Construction Code Official to cause the final amount to be charged to become a lien upon the premises and form a part of the taxes next to be assessed and levied upon the premises. Oh, Richard, you're going to be the sir. Okay.
I'm Richard Crooker. I'm the General Counsel of Advanced Realty Investors. I'm here on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start though.
Okay.
All right. So
Christopher. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Council President. This is a property maintenance action under Chapter 105 of our ordinance. All but Councilman Kirsch have done this before. Of the Sitting Council and the Mayor, you've all been parts of these before. I usually am on the other side of the desk. Bill Saville used to be up here. Tonight, Caitlin Mitchko from my office, Deputy Township Attorney, will handle the presentation. Steve Rozenak is the witness. Mr. Crooker will be given time to speak. I'll just turn it over to Caitlin to take you through the factual basis for this matter, and both her and I are here to kind of guide you through it. So, Caitlin, you may take it away.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hopefully my speaker is working. I'll turn on my video as well. For those of you who I haven't met, I think I met most everybody on this call, but my name is Caitlin. I'm from Christopher's office.
Caitlin, can you turn up your volume a bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. I'm an associate at Chris's office for about a year now. For those of you on the call who I haven't met. This was included in council packet. You should have a copy of what I provided. This was referred to the Township's Attorney's Office from the Office of Municipal Services to investigate. It includes violation of zoning and property maintenance ordinance as a center of excellence. Specifically, it is section 1053D of the Township Code, which is on page 3 of Exhibit A council packet. And that states.
Mr. President, I at times cannot hear Ms. Mitchell's presentation. It's fading in and out.
Okay, point taken. Caitlin, can you really raise the volume, because it is kind of difficult to hear you.
All right. Hopefully it's better now. I'm trying.
I think, Council President, it's probably not the volume so much as when Council turns her head, I think the microphone no longer picks her up as well. I think that's the issue.
Okay. So we have the ordinance, which states that it shall be unlawful for any owner, possessor, or occupant of lands to store, keep, or accumulate upon such lands any motorized vehicle, automobiles, or machines in need of repair as to not be readily operated under their own power, requiring substantial repairs, or not currently licensed. Here, the issue is with accumulation of motorized vehicles on the property that aren't licensed. I should add that notice was properly effectuated to the property owner of this hearing and the potential lien on the property, which is also included in council's packet. To that end, the township zoning official, Steve Rozenak, is here as a witness if council would like me to present some questions to him.
Caitlin, before you get started, which they're going to want you to do that, but Administrator Pappas just sent me a message that he would like to jump in now, so I will give him that chance.
Okay.
Thank you, Council President Norgalis and members of the council. I just wanted to set the framework for how this came about. In early July, the existence of parked vehicles, what appeared to be new parked vehicles, was brought to my attention for two properties on Route 202-206. The addresses were 721 Route 202-206 and 1041 Route 202-206. I informed Mr. Genova, who then informed Mr. Rodzanak, who visited the sites, found the vehicles on these two sites, and subsequently on July the 15th issued zoning violation notices in writing to the two property owners. And as Caitlin outlined the specific sections of the ordinance. Subsequent to that, Mr. Rodzanak will speak to this about the sequence of communication that he had from representatives of both property owners. In one instance, one of the property owners indicated that they hadn't received one of the notices, but they had never been returned. And he subsequently issued summonses, which again, he'll describe I guess it was probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I happened to be out and about with Mr. Genova visiting several sites, and we drove to these two locations. We personally found on 721 Route 202-206, parking lot was vacant. All of the vehicles that had been previously were removed, and we visited 1041 Route 202-206 the same day, and many vehicles still remained on that site. And so I just felt it was important for me to offer the perspective, since I was the one that originally received the complaint and passed it on, and provide some context for originally the violation affected two properties. The property that's subject of the hearing tonight, also other property. The other property owner responded and addressed the violation and removed the vehicles. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Caitlin, do you want to just have Mr. Rodzanak as your witness take us through factual basis and all that?
Okay. Mr. Rodzanak, if you're ready to begin.
Sure, I'm here.
Okay. So do you have knowledge of the property in question?
Yes, I do.
Have you seen the property?
Yes, I have.
What did you observe?
There were multiple new car inventory parked in the parking lots after I was notified by Mr. Genova that there was an issue.
And when did this start?
That, for me, was on 7/15, the date of the notice.
And the notice was sent to who?
It was sent to Peter Cosiello at the address 1041 Route 202-206, which was the only address I had.
And that's the owner of the property?
Yes.
To your knowledge, how many vehicles are present on the property?
As of yesterday, there were 107.
Are you familiar with the township property maintenance code?
Yes.
And in your opinion, has there been a violation?
Yes.
How so?
There are uninsured, unregistered vehicles on the lot. I believe the ordinance requires all three: insured, registered, and operable.
And what is the remedy for these types of violations?
They have to be removed.
By who?
Preferably the property owner. If the property owner doesn't remove the vehicles, then it falls upon the municipality, which is why we're here tonight.
Right. And then my last question was going to be, is that the remedy that the township is seeking?
That's what it appears by the resolution I see.
And I have nothing further.
Thank you, Caitlin. Council President, I'll turn it over to you. I know Mr. Crooker is here. The violation, I believe I think Caitlin did a good job summing it up, and Steve presenting the factual basis. It's a relatively straightforward violation of the ordinance. I will allow the Council President, you may address Mr. Crooker. The council may ask any questions they have of Caitlin or of Steve as well. The process tends to be a little more interactive, so.
Okay, I have several questions, Mr. Crooker, then I'll open it up to the rest of the council.
Okay.
Were you aware of this issue back in the July timeframe?
Are you addressing me?
Yes, sir, I am.
President, I'm sorry. I was not.
Okay, when were you engaged to facilitate this issue?
I'm the general counsel of Advanced Realty Investors. My first personal notice of this, I believe, was in connection with the August 28th letter that was sent by Ms. Mitchko, and I immediately contacted her and spoke about it. I believe in the testimony of Mr. Rodziak, I'm sorry, sir, Rosniak, pardon me. He testified that the notice, if there was a prior notice, was sent to 1041. Advance is not located there at this time. And so what may have happened, it's been my experience that the mails have been quite slow. I don't know. I never saw that. And it was addressed to another address. Our current office address is in Bedminster.
I see. Do you agree that a violation exists by having these cars parked in reference to the Bridgewater, or based on what you know right now?
I do not, sir. And I am prepared to address those issues for the benefit of the council. I believe there is at least a misunderstanding here, and I do not agree there is a violation of the ordinance. I do not believe that the intent of the ordinance is violated. I do not believe that the letter of the ordinance is violated. And the evidence I have, conceivably coming from an attorney for the person who's accused, is that every one of those vehicles, none of which belong to us, they belong to, may I go on a little bit, Mr. Nogales? I'm trying.
Yes, sir. That's fine. You have the floor.
What you have here, there are vehicles, and as the testimony pointed out, they are in nowhere near the kind of state that these ordinances address. I'm going to read more from the ordinance because it was a very selective reading. What we have here are brand new vehicles that belong to a company called Open Road Auto, which is also a fellow citizen of Bridgewater. And their presence at the property stems from one company helping out another neighbor in the course of a current situation in which the ownership of Open Road has to accept a certain amount of vehicles. And I understand, I don't know all of the ins and outs of the auto business, but I've been told, and if you want, I think I can get a letter to this effect from Open Road, whose cars these are, that they have to take delivery. And in the course of that, with the way automobiles haven't been moving since the slowdown in the economy in March, it caused a need for extra capacity. And Open Road approached Advance as a neighbor and asked if they could store the cars, brand new cars, and they're all within lots. I'll get to this in my discussion of the ordinance, okay. But the ordinance talks about keeping them in an enclosed place or somewhere else. These parking lots are very neat. They're within enclosures, and each car is in a parking space. I also did.
I'm going to pause you at this point, Mr. Crocker. I understand you're going to have an opportunity to present more of a statement, but I'd like to open it up to other council folks to be able to ask questions at this point, so we can all fully understand the issues at hand.
Mr. Nogales,
Mr. Nogales,
may I be
one at a time, please?
President Nogales, this is Rich. I respectfully, you can conduct your hearing. I would like to finish my presentation, and I'm glad to answer any questions. May I?
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
Council President, if I may, I do think that Mr. Crooker should be able to finish, but I would also request that he address whether or not his site plan includes that kind of storage. But he should be allowed to finish for procedural due process.
Okay, it's my understanding, Mr. President, that the charge here, if you will, in this proceeding, violation of an ordinance 105, section 3. That ordinance, in more pertinent part that was quoted earlier, says that the exterior premises of any property in Bridgewater shall be maintained so that the appearance thereof shall reflect the level of maintenance in general keeping with the standards of the neighborhood, such that the appearance thereof shall not promote or contribute to a blighting effect on neighboring properties. The exterior of the premises shall not contribute to the progressive deterioration and downgrading of neighboring properties. To this end, the following requirements shall apply, and there are 4 subsections. The first bans the excessive storage after their use of ladders and scaffolding, kind of unsightly things that can happen after construction. The second talks about lawns and landscaping. The third talks about exterior areas, garbage thrown around and stuff like that. The fourth is the one that Ms. Mitchko quoted from in part, and it says, motor vehicles and related equipment. It shall be unlawful for any owner, possessor, or occupant of lands to store, keep, or accumulate upon such lands any motorized vehicles, automobiles, or machines in need of repair so as not to be readily operated under their own power. That section clearly doesn't apply. These are all brand new operating vehicles that are driven to and from the site. Or requiring substantial repairs, these don't. They're brand new cars that are being stored there by open road. And finally, or not currently licensed. They say, however, nothing herein shall be construed to limit the storage or repairing of vehicles which are kept in an enclosed space or garage. Let me first speak to the issue of licensing. A statement was made that these vehicles are not licensed, registered, or operable. They are most clearly operable. The owner of Open Road will state they are completely licensed and registered. Every new car in the state of New Jersey, I am told, is registered and it in the name of the dealer initially, and then when you buy the car, you get a transfer. So the statement that was made, if I were cross-examining, I would say, how do you know that it's not registered? How do you know it's not?
Wouldn't you have to deduce those proofs tonight, Mr. Crooker? Of those 107 cars, do you have 107 licenses to show us?
There wouldn't be 107 licenses, but the owner has, I have been in touch. He wasn't able to get here tonight. I believe there's a man named Michael Moraes, who I have not personally met yet, who I've been trying to get in touch with, but I believe he can provide this information if, I don't think that tonight would be the night. The answer is I don't have the licenses. They're not my cars. Let's go back though. What we have here is a statute that deals with people junking cars in their yard, unsightliness. It's really not intended for one citizen helping out another citizen with the overflow of their very organized cars. And I would tell you, they're licensed and they're in an enclosed place. It doesn't say in a garage, it says in an enclosed place in the language of the ordinance, which to me, a parking lot and everyone being inside the lanes of the parking spaces is an enclosed place within a fence, within a property. I do not believe, therefore, that we are, Mr. Norgalis, either subject, the ordinance is not technically violated, and there's been no proof that it's violated because, I don't know what proof exists that they are unlicensed or inoperable, because they're not. And I would think that's sort of not my burden of proof in this sort of hearing we're having right now. I agree with counsel that, if for some reason it should turn out that I was wrong in the proffer that I've made based upon the evidence available to me, that could be a matter for another time. But on the record before you and the testimony before you, the simple fact of what you have is one neighbor helping out another neighbor during this time, neatly storing cars, fully operable, insured, registered, and in an enclosed place. So I welcome questions.
Does your site plan include storage of cars?
I'm not, my client is not, there's no allegation against my client under the site plan here, councils.
I mean, can you answer the question?
I can't answer because I didn't look into it. That's not the issue that's before the council this evening, Mr. President.
Mr. Norgalis,
Yes,
this is
please proceed, Mr. Pappas.
Mike Pappas. I'd just like to point out, Mr. Rodznak mentioned that, and I mentioned as well, on July the 15th, he issued a zoning violation. And the zoning violation that he signed, I'm looking at the summary of the infraction, quote, storage of new vehicles is a violation of the adopted redevelopment ordinance 126-321-6, see attached ordinance, and he included the text of the ordinance. Mr. Rodznak had informed me that he sent this, and I believe the date that it was, the violation was to have been addressed was, I think, July the 27th. He informed me at the time that he had gotten a call from Mr. Coziello, who indicated that he just became aware of this notice, and Mr. Rodznak can correct me if I've got some of my dates and facts incorrect. But while the attorney here for Advanced Realty may state that he's not aware, his client was aware. And I think that is factual to this hearing. Thank you.
May I address that, President Norgalis?
Yes, sir, you may.
We are aware that there are cars parked in an orderly fashion in that lot. The matter that's here tonight, in this, what I understand the board to be deciding a resolution on, is the violation, the alleged violation of Ordinance 1053D. Whether there was, I in good faith, I don't know whether there was notice, and I don't know that conversation, but that's not evidential of what we're here to address tonight. If that's another problem, I'm certain there's another opportunity for due process. But the last comments I respect, but they don't go to what we're here to address tonight, which is a series of cars that I believe are perfectly legally parked according to the ordinance that is at issue.
Oh, Mr. Crocker, this 1041 is the subject of a redevelopment arrangement. This is not a regular piece of property, you know, up the road on 202, 206. And under the redevelopment ordinance, parking of those vehicles is not permitted. It's not a permitted use. Now, with all due respect, you said they're in an enclosure. Did I understand you said that they're parked in a parking spot and therefore that represents an enclosure?
It's my interpretation of the ordinance, which is a fair one, because the ordinance talks about garages or structures in addition to enclosures.
Okay, but let me go back to the question though. The car is parked in a parking lot, and is it your contention that's an enclosure?
It's my contention that the cars are fully licensed and operable, and that it is the ordinance is susceptible to the interpretation that they are in an enclosed area.
From a standpoint, I would have to agree that they're operable. They're new, hopefully they wouldn't. But it would not appear, they don't have license plates on them, do they?
They don't have permanent operating license plates on them, but it's my understanding that they are licensed in a way pursuant.
My question was, do they have a license plate on them?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to questions from other council people, please.
I have a question. I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
Perhaps maybe Mr. Corsini can answer my question. The vehicles are parked at 1041 Route 206, which, by the way, before I forget and overlook this, there's a typo in the proposed resolution in the first whereas in paragraph 1. It says the property known as 721 Route 206, but I believe that should be 1041.
1041 is the correct address.
Is that correct, Mr. Corsini? It just seems like a minor typo, but.
Yeah, I believe so. That certainly is something, I mean, as you say, Councilman Pedrosa, a minor thing that could be fixed.
Okay, I just want to point that out so it's fixed in the final version.
Yeah, we won't be going to 1061 and towing their 107 cars, I promise you that. So.
All right, so my question to Mr. Corsini is, the property at 1041 Route 206, where these cars are located, is the storage of motor vehicles there for the purposes of resale a legally permissible use on that property?
I will defer to, I mean, I think the answer is no, but I'll defer to Mr. Rozenak, who wrote the original zoning violation, which is a separate action. I think Mr. Crooker and I agree on that. But to answer the councilman's specific question, I'll defer to Mr. Rozenak.
It's not an allowed use according to the redevelopment ordinance.
So there is a separate violation that's ongoing regarding that particular issue.
Yes, Councilman.
Okay. So I guess I have a question for the general counsel. I'm sorry, is it Mr. Crookner?
It is Crooker.
Crooker. I'm sorry for that.
The word crook with an ER on the end.
Okay. I hope there's no.
And I've heard jokes in my profession. Don't
I was
hesitate.
going to say that's a great name for a lawyer.
Yeah. Mr. Crooker, thank you for being here today. When you say, and you said this often, that your client is helping out an open road, and I heard it several times. My question to you is your client receiving rent proceeds or any financial benefit by storing those vehicles on the property?
I've never seen a lease. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to weigh your statement as helping out appropriately.
They're two businesses in a town, but they're helping each other. And look, we're parking cars in a parking lot temporarily. That seems like the use of a parking lot.
Do you have, besides your statements as an attorney, do you have any witnesses that you're going to call tonight?
I don't have, I thought it was an opportunity to be heard. I'm not a municipal lawyer, and we're in interesting circumstances here. If the council would like to hear testimony from Mr. Moraes or Mr. Cocosiello, I'd be glad to provide it. I think what I said was, if we're going to entertain any kind of a burden of proof here, we have to stick to what is effectively charged, if you will, and the proofs. And I don't think there's any proof of, the things I mentioned: non-licensing, non-registration, lack of insurance. I know the cars are insured, and I know, I understand we're under sort of relaxed circumstances here, but I don't know that Mr. Rodziak, with all due respect, has personal knowledge of those facts to which he testified.
Well, let me ask Mr. Rodziak a question. Mr. Rodziak, are the subject vehicles, do they possess a license plate?
No.
There are
no
over
license plates.
100 vehicles on that lot, and none of those vehicles are the subject of this resolution tonight. None of those vehicles possess a license plate.
No.
No, meaning that
No, there's no license plates on any of the 107 vehicles that I saw.
All right, fine. And so there are no license plates on the vehicles, and we have no factual rebuttal testimony. So I think, Mr. Crooker, you're in have a legal problem on your hands, frankly, because your statements are not factual testimony unless you're going to be sworn in as a witness. I don't think you want to be, right? I don't think you want to be a witness.
Everything, respectfully, Mr. President, everything I've said factually, I have firsthand knowledge of. And I would have, if I were objecting, along the way, I would have said hearsay, but Mr. Rodziak does not have personal knowledge, and the ordinance does not say license plates. It says licensed. And these vehicles, I will proffer to you, are as licensed as any vehicles that are in that status of being handled by their owner. They wouldn't have a license plate.
I would, if I may, Mr. Producer, I'd like to interject. But it would not be legal for Mr. Cocosiello or anyone in his staff to get in those cars and drive them off the lot without applying some sort of a license plate. Right now, they do not have, they're not, if they were stopped out on 202, 206 without a license plate on them, whether it's a transport or a regular license, they would be cited.
I believe it would be legal, Mr. President, because that's how the dealership moves the vehicles around. They're not, we don't move them around, but they move them perfectly legally in and out.
Yeah, they moved, they, I'm sorry, but they moved,
Without a temporary license plate?
No,
they moved those.
it's legal. It's the dealerships are under a state license to have their vehicles move them about.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Now,
Crooker.
if I may cut to the chase, why don't you just move the cars off the lot so this whole issue can be over and done with? And I guess what I'm going to make that a two-part question. It seems that in your resistance, you're stating, well, it's not illegal. What we're doing is okay, and therefore it would appear that it is a contention of the Cocosiello family to basically keep those cars there. And if they feel they can do it legally, they could keep them there forever. Is that true?
No one intends to violate any laws.
Well, that's to be seen.
The argument that I made was that the current circumstance of those cars being parked there does not violate the ordinance under which this resolution is proposed. I don't think there's any, the intent is ultimately, there's a redevelopment going to go on. They're not going to be, there'll be other cars in parking lots, but there won't be those cars there. And I do know that the number of cars has diminished since the notice, 172, they're down to 107.
What is your commitment, if anything, to move the rest of those cars and get them down to zero?
Can I take that question back? I don't.
Well, I would hope you'd have an answer for it tonight because the hearing is tonight.
They're open roads vehicles that are being parked there because they weren't able to be parked on open roads property.
That's open roads problem, not Bridgewater's problem. That's open roads problem. If they have more cars than they can handle, they have to find a legal spot to put them and not violate a redevelopment ordinance by going to somebody else and saying, please handle these cars for me.
So, Council President, if I may,
Yes,
I do think I want to build on what you said. Now, Mr. Crooker, you do know that there's a companion zoning matter. I think we agree that that's not the matter in contest here tonight, but you'll have your day of reckoning on that matter sometime soon in the municipal court. So to clarify the issue, if you have a plan to remediate the condition, perhaps the action of the council looking to take tonight would not be necessary. So you can share that plan with us now, because I think we can argue about what the wording of the ordinance here, but obviously you're going to have to, you have a much higher burden of proof in the municipal court where, you might not have read the ordinance, but you're not allowed to park commercial cars there. So,
Mr. President, may I address council?
Yes, sir.
I don't have a summons for a municipal court case. I certainly will address whatever that is, and I would love to satisfy the council here with a concrete answer to when it would be that there would be no necessity of the current practice. I don't have an answer for you tonight, but respectfully, sir, it's the ordinance itself that I'm arguing under and the degree of proofs. I don't think it's there, and I think fairness dictates that there at least be an opportunity to be heard on this beyond what we have here. I've worked to give you the best information I could get. I'm still gathering some of it.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
just one comment. The mailing address that the zoning violation was sent to, according to Mr. Well, let me clarify question, Mr. Rozenak. Mr. Rozenak, on the zoning violation notice that's dated July 15th, there's a site of violation address and then the owner address. owner address you included here is 1420 US Highway 206, Suite 2000, Bedminster. Was that where the violation notice was mailed?
The violation notice or the summons?
Violation.
Violation notice went to AR Bridgewater 2 LLC, 1420 US Highway 206, pardon me, Bedminster.
And Mr. President, I raised that issue because I understand Mr. Crooker is talking about the substance of the notice from Caitlin dated August 29th, but Mr. Crooker's client was aware of the violation. And my assumption is, since this notice dated August 29th was also sent to the Bedminster address, his client was aware of this hearing. And the fact that this client's not here, it puts the council at a disadvantage because they can't pose questions, but he's put himself at that disadvantage.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Maybe
Proceed.
I don't know what we received. As I told you honestly, I did not receive a prior notice. That is the correct address. I don't know what happened to it. I did confer with my client in advance of this, and I also spoke with the council's outside counsel, and it was my understanding that this would be addressed through legal presentations. If you would like to hear from witnesses, I can bring them in. I can do that. I can bring them back very quickly. I can probably bring Mr. Cocoziello and Mr. Moraes, but it was my understanding, so shame on me, that in this format, the people that you wanted present were me. And I based that on my discussions with my counterparts who've been very gracious and working with me, suggesting that these things are often handled constructively. So shame on me, but that was on me and shouldn't be on my client.
Well, but it's your client who's at issue here. Did you have any discussion with Mr. Cocoziello or any of the principals of that business on a plan to move those vehicles off to become compliant with the ordinance as viewed by Bridgewater Township?
I would really prefer, Mr. President, I would love to have him here to answer the question of what the plan is, because
did he know of this hearing?
My communications, I appeared here, my communications are confidential, but I will tell you he's aware of the hearing, obviously.
So he's aware of the hearing, but he chose not to participate. No,
he was told by me, based upon my discussions with counsel, that I thought it was something that lawyers handled. That was my understanding, but if you want testimony, he will appear.
I want the cars moved. And I think that's the whole substance here as far as Bridgewater Township. We feel and we're confident that having those cars there without license plates violates the substance of the redevelopment ordinance for 1041.
Mr.
I can't be any more plain than that. And what I'm hearing is, well, I can have people come back. I can come back in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that, and they knew about it, but you told them they didn't have to appear.
Let me, Mr. President, let me find out the answer to your question. When will the need for the parking of the cars be diminished such that they won't be there?
Mr. Council
I'm
President.
looking for a specific date as to when those cars aren't going to be there. I'm not looking for when Open Road Honda finally closes on the market, because that might be months. So I'm looking for a specific date when there will be compliance with the ordinance. Mayor Mensch,
Yes, Council President, just a few comments. I don't have a ton to add, but I would like to point out, a few things, which is on behalf of the administration, I think there's multiple parts here, but at the end of the day, what you see with the situation we're dealing with here is it's somewhat, when you look at the initial violations that went out to 2 property owners, this is indicative of the problem that we have with this property owner. One property owner gets the notice and moves all the cars. that we're not here fighting over wordsmithing an ordinance. They say the township doesn't want the cars there, they move the cars. Now, this owner has decided to come in. They've had notice of the initial violation. They've had notice of the hearing. And rather than move the cars, we are having a hyper-technical argument over whether the car is or is not licensed. Without any agreement to move the cars, it's not like they're coming here saying to the council, listen, council, we need 2 weeks. Could you give us 2 weeks to move the cars or to talk open road? They've had several weeks to come up with a solution. But instead, they're trying to end run the clear zoning ordinance and the clear redevelopment site plan on these technicalities. And I'll go back to this. It's not a technicality where there's a site plan issue. They're clearly in violation of the site plan. At no point in time did the redevelopment zone ever include commercial storage of cars, which is what this is. And if we take the position as a township that anybody who parks new cars in a parking spot, that means every business throughout the entire town could operate a commercial storage of new cars, because every new car that's parked in a parking space would be in a quote enclosure, which is a ridiculous reading of the word enclosure. And that's clearly not the intent. We have all the new car dealerships have specific site plans as to where they can park cars, how many cars they can park there. Everyone on this board is aware of it. But in this instance, what we're dealing with is not truly the site plan issue, it's the ordinance. And the ordinance issue here is whether or not the cars are licensed. Now, we've heard testimony from Mr. Crooker that they're licensed in some way, but the bottom line is that based on Mr. Rodziak's own testimony, there are no license plates on these cars. There's no paperwork or other indicia of the on these cars that they are licensed in some way that would be a common sense definition of licensed. Therefore, I don't see any reason why this council can't move forward with enforcing the zoning ordinance that says you can't have unlicensed cars parked on this road. And the council, I think, has two options. Well, three. I guess they can vote no, not to enforce the ordinance as it's been presented by the administration. They can say two, we're going to enforce it and we're going to, we're going to send out, we're going to move the cars tomorrow. Or the council can do what we've done in many instances when we deal with property maintenance and say, look, Mr. Crooker doesn't have a date when they're going to move the cars. So the council is going to give them a week or 2 weeks to move the cars. And they either move the cars or we move them for them. And if they're open roads cars, it's open roads problem to move the cars, I guess, or it's Advanced Realty. They can figure out amongst themselves. And then Advanced Realty can either move the cars, not move the cars and let us tow them, or I guess file an appeal or some other action challenging the actions of the council. And if they want to litigate whether or not licensed means the same definition that we'd all understand it, or if they want to go to court and argue about it, but I think that's at this point in time, everyone's clear that they got to move the cars. There's no plan to move the cars. And I think it would be a very proper reading of the ordinance. Cars don't have license plates on them. It's not licensed. Give them, a short period of time to move the cars. They don't move them, then we tow them.
So if I may build on what the mayor just said, Mr. Crooker, that when either I or Ms. Michko said to you that this is usually worked out amongst attorneys or whatever the phrasing was within the conversation that we may have had, that's usually what we mean. When this hearing is held, typically you come forward, usually we don't get this far, but when we get this far, there's some kind of time frame that's presented by the person, the resident or business, saying how long will it take you to remedy the condition. That's what we mean by this is usually work. That's why you wouldn't need a witness. I mean, if you give us a time frame, you don't have to bring back Mr. Cocoziello because we'll be able to work this out that way.
Mr. President, I would build on what the mayor has said, which is this is a situation in which maybe I didn't want to sound like I was offering up an excuse. These are two businesses in the community that are trying to get through a situation. We mean no disrespect, no disregard. I understand what the council's position is. I might ask that he have a time to answer your question, which is how long do they need? I know what your sentiments are. And the mayor's suggestion implied, a little bit of time. If it has to be that we have to bring in the evidence because we can't work that out. And I understood what Mr. Corsini's point was. He didn't mislead me in any way when we talked. I didn't talk about what I viewed as, negotiations among council. What I think is the fair thing for what I believe are two businesses really just trying to work through this is to have a little bit more time, and I think we'll all get a satisfactory outcome.
How about a week?
Mr. President, can I
Would
make
your
a
client
suggestion?
agree? I'm sorry? Go ahead, Michael.
I was going to make a suggestion here because, we could go on all night, and I don't think anyone involved in this wants to do that. Because a solution seems to be in front of us. Can we, I guess this is mostly a question for Mr. Corsini, can we pass a resolution tonight with a date identified as 14 days from today, with the knowledge that this body will be meeting again in approximately 10 days? And if there is some reasonable evidence presented to us, we could potentially amend the resolution, or we could leave it as it is, or in an even more ideal state, the circumstance is alleviated by then.
Yes, that is an option available to you, Councilman Kirsch.
Councilman, I think the only.
And am I correct that our next meeting is approximately 10 days from now? I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 21st, 11 days. Okay, let me get back to you. And I didn't mean to, Philippe, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the mayor wanted to speak, so I'll
Yes.
let him speak first.
Oh, I was going to say, to Councilman Kirsch's point, I think the only question for the council is there's two ways of doing it. One, and we've done it both ways depending on the situation in the past. One is the council passes the ordinance tonight that says we believe, we find that there's a violation and we give you X number of days to correct it. If you don't correct it in X number of days, the township is authorized to take action. Option two is to say, we're going to defer that finding and come back and have the ordinance, basically the same ordinance or a similar ordinance up for a determination at the council meeting in 10 days, whenever that may be. And essentially, either continue, or whether it's a new hearing or a continuation of this hearing, re-go over it. I think that the result in terms of the amount of time that it takes to move, that's allowed to move the cars, may not matter in that, but whether or not the council finds that there's a violation and makes a determination, there's two different ways of doing it. I just want to make sure that was clear.
So I thought the Mayor, Councilman Kirsch, the first of your options, which I think is the more harsh option, is the one that Councilman Kirsch said. But I don't think it's still very harsh because his point is valid. If you give them 14 days and Mr. Crooker comes what he should have come with tonight, no offense, is a plan to move the cars, and it takes 16 days, you have a meeting in between then. So you could amend the resolution. I thought that's what Councilman Kirsch was getting at.
I think the problem, the concern or the question I have that, and then I'll I think I've ended my comments, but it's not clear to me at the moment, based on, and Mr. Crooker, please, you can jump in, but it's not clear to me yet whether the position of the property owner is, yeah, we'll move the cars, we just need a certain amount of time, or if the position is, hey, we don't have to move the cars because we don't believe there's a violation. And those are two different things. Because if it's just a matter of saying, hey, look, we need 2 weeks, move the cars in 2 weeks, it won't be an issue, so be it. Well, then the council can decide how they want to handle it. If the position of Advance Realty is going to be, we're going to come back at the next council meeting, Mr. Crooker is going to say, look, I spoke to my client, we don't think that, this ordinance is enforceable and we're not going to move the cars. Well, then we're theoretically back to square one, because now the council, they take action, and now we're another 2 weeks or a month down the line before, the cars are moved. So I think that's just, I want to kind of lay out those options and situations so the council understands.
But Mr. President, the solution that I am comfortable with, again, I don't know if this would be the consensus of the council or not. I am comfortable setting a 14-day deadline, or I should say, having the finding tonight, delaying enforcement for 14 days, with a clear expectation that there will be progress in those intervening 14 days. In the event that there is not, or that it is slower than anticipated, Mr. Crooker has the opportunity to come back to us in 11 days for potential adjustment of the resolution. And again, Mr. Corsini, you'd have to validate that what I've said, can be properly placed into this resolution without creating considerable difficulties and challenges. But that's a solution that I have. I agree with Mr. Crooker that at its start, this was one neighbor trying to help another. And that's laudable, but that needs to be done in a legal way. And since it's not being done in a legal way, we are asking that this be remediated at a time certain. And I believe that a starting point for that time certainty is 14 days from today.
If I may, on the 21st, which is our next meeting, I'm going to be a little more bombastic, Michael, than you are. What I would say is by Friday the 18th, I want the cars moved so that when I come in for the Monday meeting, we can get a report from Mr. Rosniak that says the cars are gone, the issue is over. I'm unwilling to say let's give them 2 weeks and then it drags on. If in 2 weeks they're not moved, then we're into another month.
No.
Let me finish.
No, Howard, that's not what I'm saying.
Let me finish.
What I'm saying is
let me finish. The goal of the township is to get the cars moved. The goal of the township is to make sure that the redevelopment agreement is being abided by. That's the substance here. And in the absence of the applicant providing any meaningful date, the issue of bringing Mr. Cocosiello or somebody back in 2 weeks and then another 2 weeks, this thing will be going on till Christmas. And anytime we've had these issues, we've put a stake in the sand and say, this is our ruling. This is what we're going to do. And in general, we have been very successful in getting issues adjudicated where people understand that we're serious. Now, Michael, please continue.
Howard, could I offer
no.
a few comments?
I think.
Okay. Alan hasn't had a chance, although he's appearing under Tom Genova's name, Alan Credilla. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, I'm a bold Tom Genova. In looking at the proposed resolution, item 4 gives us the opportunity to set a time frame to get this thing cleared up. And I will tell you that I am nervous about some parts of it where we have the ability to tow the cars and so on and so forth. And in reading that, I'm just wondering if we have the cars towed, where are we going to tow them to for this number of cars? I would agree with Michael that I think we should put a 14-day time frame in place and get the cars moved. I think that's a fair amount of time. If it's not a fair amount of time, then with a respectable argument to contest it, then I think we can be reasonable too. But it can't be, we can't do it in 2 weeks. We can only move 10 cars. If they could move, 90 of them or so and need another couple of days to get the rest moved, I'd be very happy to accept it because they're then complying with the intent of our ordinance.
I have a statement, Mr. Council President.
Yes,
May I?
sir. Go ahead, Philippe.
Thank you. First of all, Mr. Crookner, I'm not really moved by your statements here this evening. I don't really find that, you not bringing in your witnesses tonight based upon a, you know, in part based on a conversation that you had, really had much impact in your decision. You're a seasoned veteran attorney that represents high-profile clients. I believe you're in-house attorney or general counsel for Advanced Realty. You have quite the amount of experience in commercial litigation and other matters. The fact that you chose, end of the day, made that choice not to bring your fact witnesses tonight, end of the day was really your choice. And I'm not really moved by your statements that, you made that choice and it was your fault. But maybe it is your fault, but it's really a strategic legal choice that you made. And so I'm not really moved by that. When it comes to the issue as to this licensing technicality, I'm going to tell you, I find that these motor vehicles are under the meaning of our ordinance, under what our ordinance is intended to mean. These vehicles are unlicensed, and you can, certainly, I respect your position as an attorney, trying to twist things in a way that's beneficial to your client. I've been there, I respect it, but I don't agree with you. Motor vehicles that are owned by dealerships, and I've represented people who've owned car dealerships in the past, can't be driven on the road in the state that they're in. So you should know that, right? The motor vehicle that's owned by the dealer needs to be driven with a dealer plate placed on the vehicle, or it needs to be towed on a flatbed or on some other motor vehicle. So that motor vehicle cannot be driven as is. So that motor vehicle, to me, under the purview of what our law, our ordinance is really stating, to me, it falls within the unlicensed category within our ordinance. But the underlying intent of this ordinance is so that we don't have this condition and others occur throughout town, that we don't have people storing vehicles that are needing repairs, or storing vehicles that are not licensed for the purpose of being used. And really, that's the intent of what this ordinance is about. Your client's current use of this lot falls outside the scope of this ordinance, outside the purview of what this ordinance is supposed to mean. And so I certainly feel that your client is in violation of 105-3 subsection D. I'm also not moved by your argument that the vehicles are in an enclosed place. Frankly, I think, look, you're really stretching it, and I get it, but an enclosed place or a garage means just that, something that's covering the motor vehicles, keeping them out of sight. So, according to the way that you're reading this ordinance, according to your definition, every parking lot in Bridgewater Township could become a storage facility for motor vehicles. And I completely disagree with you. These motor vehicles right now are certainly they're in parking spaces, as you say, in a parking lot, but those motor vehicles are not in an enclosed place or a garage. So I am 100% confident that your client is violating our Bridgewater ordinance, and I'm certainly comfortable in moving this resolution, and I would agree with Council President Norgalis. I think the 18th, giving your client some time period, I think is reasonable, and certainly compassionate on the part of our town to work with you. I certainly hope that your client can sort of reciprocate that and be compassionate and work with Bridgewater Township in the future. But I'm not saying that we should go tow your client's cars tomorrow, but those cars have to get out. It's a clear violation of the ordinance. The motor vehicles need to be moved. I agree with Council President that the 18th is an acceptable date. I don't think that we should rehash this again at the next council meeting. I don't really feel there's any benefit to doing that. The fact that you didn't bring your witnesses is at your peril, and I don't see a need to have to do that. I found that the testimony of Mr. Wozniak to be credible, accurate, factual, right on point, and I'll move this. I'll move this resolution, and in that blank area, I would add September 18th, 2020, in paragraph 4.
Paragraph 4, page 3, which reads, enforcement of this matter is hereby stayed from the approval of this until September 18th, which is a Friday, 2020. If that is your motion, I will second that motion because I feel we need to have a specific time frame. Is there any addition? First of all, Mr. Corsini, do we need to have two separate things? One saying we find in violation of the ordinance, and the second one being the consequence, or how would you like to portray this so I don't run afoul of the Mr. Crooker? Mr. Pedroso is an attorney. The mayor is an attorney. You're an attorney, and Mr. Corsini. I'm in the minority right now. I do not have Esquire after my name. So
I would just pass whatever the resolution ends up being. I would just, with the way it's written with the blanks that are in it, you filled one. There's a motion in a second, so you'll debate it. I would just also fill the blank in section 6, and I would make that amount not to exceed whatever the lien notice was. Caitlin, just what's the notice? You have it. It may not be anything, or something less than that number. I think 17. What is it, Caitlin?
You're looking on the lien?
Yeah, the lien, the number. Because that's got to go with.
That was for 172 vehicles.
All right. So, I mean, I don't know if Steve Wozniak probably doesn't. Well, can you do the math on the fly for 107? Can we do the math? I mean, it's a per vehicle charge. So whatever the number is times 107. I'm just looking at myself. But that, Council President, that number would have to be included in your ordinance. That's blank 6 in the resolution. That's blank 6 in the resolution. I'm just scrolling down my exhibit to find it. 125 per vehicle, 107 vehicles. 13,000.
We made it 13,000.
Yes, 13,000.
375.
But it's also the storage, which is $50 a day for a 20-hour period. Some quick math on that as well, because we have confirmed that it is less than the lien notice was. So just give me a second. I will get you an exact number for that section for Linda.
Well, 107 cars, that's 5,350, I believe.
It's 18,725. And since it's less than the lien notice, I'm comfortable proceeding with that because they were noticed at 30,100. But I mean, that's, Council President, that's the only, to your point, I would just approve the resolution with those 2 blanks filled, and the shaded spaces can all be included.
All right, you've heard the motion by Councilman Pedroso. I have seconded. Is there discussion by any?
Mr. President, I assume that's the end of the hearing. I just want to note, I hear what you're saying. I disagree with the interpretation of the statute as a legal matter, and I think the facts are lacking. But I hear you, and thank you for the opportunity to be heard.
You're welcome. And I think that if I may, that probably represents the substance of the fact that it's not the case that you're just helping out the neighbor and you'll move the cars. It's basically contesting the legitimacy of it, and under that interpretation, you feel you would be entitled to store those cars forever. Is that not correct? I'm trying to characterize your view.
Sir, I do not believe that the ordinance as written extends to the current situation of parking cars in a parking lot. And I hear you. You respectfully disagree with me and reject my argument. It's a legal argument. And
Yes.
it's not,
And
I don't view it as a twist. I don't view it as a twist.
But I do know the ordinance.
But I appreciate the compliments to my seniority and skill. I believe that the council is misinterpreting the ordinance in this instance.
Thank you. Okay, Michael.
Mr. President, just a question, just a question so that I know exactly what we're voting on. We're basically saying that as long as these cars disappear on or before, I guess it would be the 17th of this month, no action would be required. But if the sun rises on Friday the 18th and those cars are still there, they would be subject to being removed via towing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, no. I
They
think
have
it's the end of
until
the,
18th.
yeah,
They have
it's the end of the
until
day on the
18th
18th.
to
So
remove it.
functionally, it would be
They
Monday.
have until the Friday, the 18th to move them.
Yeah, the end of the day. So realistically,
Yeah,
I mean,
till
we're not going to
midnight
move
on
them.
the 18th.
Yeah, we're not going to move them on the weekend. So
Right, but when we
Then
come in
Monday.
on Monday, we will know, Mr. Rosniak, if you would be so kind as to do a survey of the lot on that Monday. I would ask Mr. Pappas, or you or somebody go by and look to see if there are any cars, and if there are, count them. But at this point, I think it is the intent. Well, I need to hear from the rest of the council, because Michael, did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
No, you did not. You know, again, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So the intention of this action that we're taking is that those cars will be removed by the end of the day, 1 week from tomorrow, which is Friday the 18th. And I guess as if they are not removed as soon thereafter as possible, enforcement action may occur. So is that am I understanding it correctly?
Yes, you are.
affirmative, Councilman.
I will support that.
I thought we were, if I may, I thought we were going for 14 days. Now we're down to 7 days.
Well, 8 days, actually. Today being Thursday the 10th, this would be next Friday the 18th.
And technically, they also have the weekend because, like Mr. Corsini said, the township's not going to enforce
We
the
won't be
ordinance over
counting
the
till
weekend.
we won't be counting till Monday the 21st. So that if they don't get done on Friday and they move them on Saturday and Sunday, that's as good as Friday. But
To be clear, also, you know, the way the ordinance is the resolution is written, the council is giving the administration the authority, again, from a practical standpoint, to take action to remove the cars as early as that Monday. The administration has the practical realities and everything else. That doesn't mean that at 8:05 or 9:05 on Monday the 21st, there's going to be an army of tow trucks out there moving cars. We'll certainly keep the council apprised.
But there could.
There could. That's the point. Yes, that is the point. That is the point to drive home to the property owner, is that at that point in time, we would not need to come back for any further approval. We could have 107 separate tow trucks lined up, ready to go, if necessary. That is correct, and that's the message to be sent to the property owner. I think as the council has made clear, everybody, it's our intention. We want the cars moved, and we want whether it's open road or the property owner. I understand that, in terms of whose cars they are, we don't really care who moves them. We would prefer somebody else move them. We don't want to be the ones moving the cars.
if I were open road and they were my cars, I would find someplace else for them.
Right.
I wouldn't want the township towing them.
But I want to, also be clear. While I said that, doesn't mean that at 9:05 we'll be out there. I also want to be very clear that, it would be the administration's position that we also won't be sitting here on November 10th or even October 10th debating the cars. They will be moved one way or another if the council gives us the permission, and we'll work with the property owner to hopefully just get them moved. So
Okay.
that's my only two
Alan and
cents.
And
Michael?
Mr. President, even though this is not formally part of the resolution, I'd certainly like to express my personal opinion that I also don't think that we anticipate getting into a game of whack-a-mole here. So when these cars disappear from this property, it would certainly be the expectation of this council person, potentially others as well, that these cars not simply go somewhere else in an equally illegal state.
Well said. And I'm sure Mr. Crooker can take that back. All right, you've heard the details of the resolution. We have a motion and a second. If there is no additional discussion on the part of council, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please, on the approval of this resolution as stated. Linda?
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
Yes.
Vice President Pedroso,
Yes.
and President Norgalis.
Yes. Okay, that concludes the item number 7. Mr. Crooker, thank you for participating tonight, sir.
Thank you for your time and attention. I will drop off, okay?
Thank you. Okay, we're now, we have completed item 7, and now we're moving to the meeting open to the public. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed to provide public input by electronic transmission, with all comments to be read into the record unless there are unusual circumstances. I would quickly note that although tonight was billed as the public hearing and final action on the historic preservation document due to a number of wording changes that were considered substantive, we will not be holding the public hearing and final action. We will be holding the public hearing on the revised version, which is in effect the first meeting of tonight. So could I have a motion to go to do two things: to open the meeting to the public, and once we've done that, to take a 4-minute break so that the input from residents can be consolidated. Could our motion to
I'll make that motion, Howard.
Thank you, Alan. Second? I'll second it. All those in
I'll second.
favor of open to public, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And we are now going
Aye.
to break for 4 minutes to provide for public input. Scott is standing by, and at the conclusion of the time frame, he will read, or in some cases, we can probably hear people directly. Okay, we are on a 4-minute break now. Thank you.
Yes, Council President, I'll just note for anyone listening, you can use the type form link. You can use the Q&A button in the Ring Central meetings. You can raise your hand. Any of those will make sure that your comment gets where it's got to go when the 4 minutes are up.
Thank you, Scott. You dog. Okay, our 4 minutes is up. Could folks make their appearance? Tim Ring will be joining us. He was en route, and he just telephoned me, and he said he.
I'm here, Howard.
I see Alan. Tim is here. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you.
Philippe.
Present.
Okay, Linda, roll call, please. Do we have Linda?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, Councilman Kirsch,
Michael, you're muted. Go ahead, Mike. We're being polled, Michael.
Yeah, here. Are you hearing me?
Yes, now I can hear
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
yes, thank you.
Yes, here.
Councilman Cardilla,
Here.
Councilman Ring,
Here.
Vice President Pedroso,
Here.
President Norgalis.
Yes, thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Scott, what do we have input from the public, please?
Yes, we have some input.
Please read them.
Sure. We have one comment coming in from the Q&A on Ring Central, and the comment is, at the start of the meeting, 2 resident issues were mentioned, one regarding the Green Knoll Grill incident and another the Frontier Road project. Where can more information be found about these? I have the name. It's Suhas Julapali. I don't have the address because that person hasn't responded yet. But OCR will answer those questions tomorrow for the gentleman, so you guys don't have to do anything there.
Excellent. Thank you. Would you do me a favor when you send out a missive to the individual? Would you copy the council so that we can be aware of the discussion also, please?
Sure. I'm first going to need to establish contact with that person,
That's
but
fine.
once I get to that point, I will copy you guys.
Thank you.
I don't see any hands raised in the attendee pool, so we don't need to do that. I have no text on the Google Voice account. And the last comment came in through type form from Mrs. Kathy Franco at 766 WEMAC. And her comment is as follows. What is the council doing with this advanced realty car storage issue? 1, the township certainly knows the official mailing address of Advanced Realty and that it has never been 1041 Route 206, so why did the notice get sent? 2, one cannot see from the main road, Route 206, these vehicles, therefore it is not a nuisance. 3, the township is looking for another way to waste our taxpayer dollars in a potential lawsuit. 4, the addresses listed are not consistent, 741 and 1041, and therefore the council and its council should assure that the information presented is presented correctly to the public. 5, as this township, its citizens and businesses are suffering from this pandemic and its efforts, and as our township permits exceptions of parking lot uses for parking lots to serve food and alcoholic beverages, it becomes upsetting that the council cannot afford the same opportunity for other businesses to survive during this pandemic. 6, why is open road not a subject of this question and concern? And with that, Council President, I don't see any emails. I don't see any more text. And I'm going to refresh the type form one more time. And that is all that we have.
Okay, Scott, thank you. We've done the public. We're moving to 11, which is a introduction of an ordinance, and this is the slightly revised, an ordinance creating a new chapter 25 of the municipal code of the Township of Bridgewater entitled Historic Preservation for the purposes of creating the Office of Township Historian and the Local History Advisory Committee. Mr. Pedroso, would you like to offer any additional comments? I know you've been the standard bearer on this one for a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. After we introduced the prior ordinance, you and I had a discussion. There were a few little things that we felt would be better to improve the wording of the ordinance to improve the functionality a little better. And so upon speaking with council, it was recommended that we reintroduce the ordinance. So It's better get it right and the first time. So here it is. I'm happy to introduce again an ordinance creating a historic preservation committee.
Okay. Any discussion? Now, Philippe is in effect moving it. I'll second it, but I want to provide an opportunity for discussion from any of the other councilmen, and welcome Councilman Ring. Okay. Anybody have any comments right now? You've seen the revisions. They're very minor. There were only 4 or 5 of them. Most of it was wordsmithing, but as learned counsel has said, unless it was really simple stuff like a correction of a word spelling or grammar or something like that, in trying to be very, very careful and make sure we do everything, cross all the T's and dot all the I's. Okay.
Mr. Council President, if I could just say one comment, and
Yes,
just
sir.
from an administration standpoint, Councilman Pedroso has been at the forefront of this issue for a long time, and I certainly look forward as soon as we get ordinance, getting that signed, and getting this committee, moving on this action, which I think is long overdue. So excited to move forward with it at Councilman Pedroso's behest.
Thank you, Mayor. If there are no other comments, Linda, can we have a roll call on the?
Yeah, Mr. President, just a brief.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, just a brief comment. I know we spoke about this, at a previous meeting. I will support this. Appreciate the leadership that particularly Councilman Pedroso has shown on this issue. Just want to confirm the previous conversation that this is about preservation. This is about preserving documents and photographs and potentially artifacts that would likely be handheld or in a size that would be quite reasonable. This is not intended to be preservation of land. This is not intended to be preservation of massive pieces of equipment, but it is, I think, a necessary action to preserve important artifacts, photographs, and other small trinkets that may exist, so that they are preserved moving forward.
In fact, one of the
Thank
terms
you.
we use
Yeah.
is man portable, meaning person can carry it. We're not looking for 100-year-old New Holland combine to be presented.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank Councilman Kirsch for those statements, and also the mayor for his support. But Councilman Kirsch touched an important issue that everyone should be aware. This ordinance is not intended to create a new expense for the town. The historian and the committee members are all volunteers, just like many of the numerous committees that we have in this township. There are certainly many people. There are people who already expressed interest in serving in this committee, and I'm sure there'll be more. And so these are all volunteers. The ordinance does provide that the historian may request an item of expense for any unforeseen items, but any item of expense would have to be approved by affirmative vote of this governing body. And so there is no surprise expense popping up or anything like that. So this is really volunteers doing what volunteers do, preserving our town's history, working for the town, doing their time. And really, this is something that we can pass on to future generations. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Linda, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
While I support the concept of historical preservation, my concerns remain the same as we introduced it, and I'm voting no.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
Vice President Pedroso,
Yes.
President Norgalis.
Yes. And would you
Set the
share
public
date?
hearing for the 21st day of September 2020 at 7:30 p.m. and the clerk will have copies available to the public.
All right, thank you, Linda. Okay, moving to resolutions, and there's a whole slew of them. We'll go by consent, but I do want to mention the individual locations. 12A is 2021 renewal of Township of Bridgewater plenary retail consumption liquor licenses. And at the risk of boring everybody, I'm going to read the locations as follows. CG Fridays, New Jersey, doing business as TGI Fridays. Zinn Bridgewater LLC, Chimney Rock Incorporated, trading as Chimney Rock Inn. Uncle Julio's of Florida, trading as Uncle Julio's. Honaker Corporation, trading as Martinsville Gardens and Shad Palace. Amber Corporation, trading as Martinsville Tavern. GMRI Incorporated, trading as Olive Garden Italian Restaurant. Ansel, Buffalo Wild Wings, 22 West Tap and Grill. California Pizza, trading as California Pizza Kitchen. Bridgewater Restaurant LLC, trading as Houlihan's. Seasons 52, trading as Seasons 52. Maggiano's Holding Corporation for Maggiano's Little Italy. Redstone American Grill. The Cheesecake Factory, Apple Food Service of Bridgewater. Red Lobster Restaurants, trading as Red Lobster number 827. Top of the Hill, trading as Top of the Hill Tavern. American Multi Cinema, trading as AMC Theaters. And B Water Manor, which was formerly Bridgewater Manor. That's the list. That is the list for 12A. By the way, as I go through any of these, and I'll read them as fast as I can, if anyone wants me to stop or have a discussion, we can do that. 12A is 2021 renewal of plenary retail distribution liquor licenses for Squire's Corner Liquors Incorporated, trading as Spirits of the Valley. Krishna Beverages, trading as Bridgewater Wine and Spirits. Wegmans Food Markets Incorporated and Ram Incorporated, trading as By West Wine and Liquors. That was 12B. 12C, renewal of plenary retail consumption license hotel/motel exception 2021 for the GCP Bridgewater Management LLC, also known as Hyatt House Hilton Gardens Incorporated. FSG Bridgewater Hotel, also known as Hampton Inn Suites. And Breed Lodging Group Bridgewater LLC, also known as Marriott Bridgewater. Moving to 12D, renewal of plenary retail consumption license number 1806-021-009 for Mish J.O. Investment Corporation, trading as Green Knoll Grill, 641 Route 202206 South, Bridgewater, New Jersey, 08807. It includes the same conditions that have been present for this location for a number of years. 12E, 2021 renewal of plenary retail consumption liquor license hotel motel exception Marriott Hotel Services Incorporated, trading as Bridgewater Marriott Hotel, 700 Commons Way, Bridgewater, New Jersey, 08807, with conditions. 12F, 2021 renewal of plenary retail consumption liquor license Cafe Amelia Incorporated, 705 Route 202, Bridgewater, New Jersey, 08807, also with conditions. 12G, renewal of inactive plenary retail consumption liquor license 1806-33-011-08, Ruby Tuesday Incorporated, 754 Route 202, Town Center, Bridgewater, New Jersey, 08807. 12H, 2021 renewal of the Township of Bridgewater club liquor licenses for Fraternal Order of Eagles, Somerville Lodge of Elks, Raritan Valley Country Club, and Gerard Arrigo Post American Legion. That was 12H. 12I, and this is the last one, authorizing the issuance of COVID-19 expansion permit to California Pizza Kitchens Incorporated, 1090-400 Commons Way, plenary retail consumption license number 1806-33-013-006, pursuant to special ruling 2020-10 of the New Jersey Alcoholic Beverage Commission. You've heard me read 12A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. That represents the entire list. If there are no if there are any questions related to these, Linda would be the expert on this, and she handles all the liquor licensing.
Howard,
Yes, sir.
sorry, if I may, a question for Mr. Corsini. If I can just get some clarification regarding 12H. I believe it was, as a member of the Elks, is there a conflict in one voting on 12H?
I don't necessarily think so, but I don't think it's going to be a close vote, Councilman. So if you wanted to recuse yourself, that's up to you.
In the past, members of individual organizations have freely participated in the vote. There's no financial, I assume there's no financial benefit to you whatsoever. But if you wish to abstain on that one, we'll vote the others and then come back. It's up to you, sir.
I'll move 12G, or 12A through G and 12I.
Okay, we have that. Can we have a second, please?
I have a
I'll
question.
second.
I have a question.
Okay, we have
Council-
second, but Philippe, Mr. Vice President, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. A question that I always ask when we renew these applications, which is, is the police department okay with these renewals? Has the chief reviewed them, and are there any issues that have arisen over the past year that we should know about?
Linda, I believe the answer to that question is yes, there is a police officer who reviews all the license. Am I correct in that?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, I'm aware, Howard,
Okay.
that the
Okay.
police review. So my question is, is there anything in those reviews that the police have raised that we should know about?
Linda.
Would you like me to? Yeah. The police department, health officer, and construction code official, they have not indicated any objections with the renewals. They're fine. However, Police Detective Russell Dunlop has offered, not that it would be objective to any renewal, but he has offered that there were several complaints regarding the Green Knoll Grill regarding social distancing and mask compliance, and he did suggest a reminder be sent to negate any future problems when they pick up the license.
Okay. Mr. Pappas?
Yes, sir.
I hope you heard Linda's comment.
Yes.
Between you and the clerk's office, can we facilitate a piece of correspondence to the Green Knoll Grill indicating the license will be approved, but they have to be mindful of the fact that there have been some violations in the past, and that the township would like them to be more careful?
Yes, sir. Certainly will.
Okay. Any other questions? So we've got a motion and a second. Could we have a roll call on A through G and I?
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla?
Yes.
Councilman Ring?
Yes.
Vice President Pedroso?
Yes.
President Norgalis?
Yes. Okay. Could I have a motion on 12H, please?
Mr. President, I'll make that motion to approve 12H.
Thank you, Michael. Could we have a second, please?
I'll second it, Howard.
Second, a roll call, 12H.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla?
Yes.
Ring?
Abstain.
Vice President Pedroso?
I will abstain on this, as I have done consistently in the past due to my association with the Elks.
President Norgalis?
Yes. Okay, we're moving to resolutions now, and there's a ton of them. Is there any specific resolution that someone would feel could not be handled as part of the consent? If not, I'll read each one and then we'll move for consent. 13A, authorizing submission of a, sorry? Okay.
I noticed one minor correction. And have one comment to make. Do you want to read them, and then I'll handle those two?
Why don't you handle it right now?
Okay. The minor correction is at E in the whereas clause. If we could remove the word "the," which appears before Michael Pappas.
Oh, okay.
And then at 12, I'm sorry, we're in 13. 13C, like Charlie. I have no objection to the resolution. What I am hoping, though, is that as the Patriots make plans for 2021, that there can be proactive conversation between the team and the administration, so that during the planning process, we can have some idea of the dates they have in mind, rather than have essentially a publication of some of those dates occur first. So that doesn't change the resolution. It's simply a preference that I have, that we have an engagement with the Patriots early on in their planning process for when those dates will be.
Okay. Okay. We'll leave that in Mr. Pappas's capable hands. Is that okay, Mr. Pappas?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments on any? So we have the correction and the need for cooperative spirit there. Authorizing submission of the fiscal year 2021 Bridgewater Municipal Alliance request for applications with Somerset County Board of Chosen Freeholders in the amount of $15,294.89. Under the grant, Bridgewater will be responsible for $1,911.86 in cash. There will be an in-kind match of $5,735.58. And Somerset County will provide $7,647.45. Moving to 12B, authorizing participation in the Somerset County Regional Center Partnership Challenge Grant Program 2020 for resiliency and economic recovery, and submission of a grant application with Bridgewater Township proposal for the shop Bridgewater in the amount of $40,000. By the way, after I've gone through all these, I'll leave an opportunity for the administration to weigh in and provide additional illumination as they see fit. Under C, authorizing a credit in the amount of $55.90 to the Somerset Patriots. Notice it's a credit to be used towards fireworks display permit fees in 2021 at the Somerset Patriots Stadium due to the inability to execute fireworks displays in 2020 during the COVID-19 emergency. D is awarding a competitive contract to Nature's Choice Corporation, 1106 Millstone River Road, Hillsborough, New Jersey, 08844, pursuant to NJSA 40A:11-4.1 at C, for the management, operation, and maintenance maintenance of the Township of Bridgewater Yard Waste Site at a cost to the Township of $24,000 per year for a 5-year period, and a total amount of $120,000 commencing on September 1st, 2020 and terminating on August 30th, 2025. That is a tremendous win for the township, and my admiration for the administration in negotiating that one. E is an award of contract for the 2020 paving program, sidewalk, ADA, ramp and inlet improvement project for various locations to Nava Construction LLC, 1216 Stockton Drive, North Brunswick, New Jersey, 08902, in the sum of $151,516.80, funded through the 2018 Capital Fund. F is exercise of second-year option of the township contract with Atlantic Tactical of 772 Corporate Circle, New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, 17070, for the purchase of police uniforms, shoes, leather gear in the amount not to exceed $75,000. This is a reduction from the prior year, which was in excess of 90, by the way. G, authorizing dispersal of $1,400 from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for renovating and repairs to affordable housing owned by Corporate Housing Corporation, a nonprofit providing affordable housing in the Township of Bridgewater for property located at 1402-1404 Prince Rogers Avenue. H is authorizing acceptance of the drainage and access easement from PDD Construction LLC located on Block 642, lots 5.01, 5.02, also known as 690 Foothill Road in the Township of Bridgewater. Lastly, authorizing execution of a developer's agreement and stormwater management agreement between the Township of Bridgewater and Hindu Temple and Cultural Society of US for parking structure located on Block 483, lots 2, 3, 4, 5, and 12.02, also known as 1 Balaji Temple Drive in the Township of Bridgewater. One note on that, in coming weeks, we will have a resolution to formalize the identification of the private street for Balaji Temple Drive. Evidently, the state knows about it because they have the sign up over the roadway, and Tim Ring has notified me that the 911 emergency services console in Somerville recognizes that as an emergency number, but it's not part of the Bridgewater road identification plan and needs to be. So we'll be doing that in the future just to close the loop on that. You've heard the citation for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. Any comments? Any thoughts at this point? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval of those resolutions, please.
Howard, I will echo your comments regarding the yard waste center. If I'm not mistaken, the original quotes on that the first go around were significantly higher. So yes, and I think that is a vital service, or a great service that we provide the residents in Bridgewater, and I'm happy to see that we're able to get those costs to a much more manageable number. I'll move 13A through I if you'd like.
Okay. I'll take a second, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Pappas if he has any comments. Is there a second on those resolutions?
Howard, I'll confirm we're moving
Okay,
13A through I.
Alan also acting as Tom Genova on the screen here. Mr. Pappas or Mayor, any comments on the gargantuan work that went into some of these negotiations?
One comment I'd like to make, and then Mr. Pappas may have additional ones, but I just wanted to thank our Deputy Administrator, Wells Wininger, who's not here tonight. I think maybe the first meeting he's missed all year. But, he really, with the Regional Center Partnership, this grant this year is, it's a special grant that's additional funding. As you know, normally the grants are about $15,000. This grant's larger because there is additional money available from, through some of the COVID programs. And when we looked at what we wanted to do with the potential money, he looked at, we have the Shop Bridgewater program, which has been pretty underutilized in Bridgewater. And, he put together a plan, submitted the grant application, and really took the bull by the horns on this to bring additional resources, especially to our small businesses in Bridgewater who could use the help. And by promoting the Shop Bridgewater program, it's a huge help to these businesses in town, especially the small ones. And for folks who may not remember, if you get your Shop Bridgewater card, which is free, you can then get money off of your property taxes if you shop in businesses that are part of the program. So it's a win for the residents and win for businesses. So I want to thank our Deputy Administrator for taking a lead on this one, and they're pleased to move forward with it. That's the only comment. I think everything else, I have no additional comments on the other items.
Mr. Pappas,
Just one. Yeah, just one. 13E is the contract with Nava Construction. This is for ADA ramps, inlets, and other drainage work associated with the roads that would be part of the 2020 County Cooperative Paving Program. These efforts or these repairs have to be undertaken, or improvements have to be undertaken before the county can come in. I want to thank Mr. Genova and Mr. Burr for their efforts. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Linda, could we have roll call, please, on 13A through I?
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
Vice President Pedrosa,
Yes.
President Norgalis.
Yes. Okay, that concludes the regular part. We're now going to go to closed session. Let me read the document. Be it resolved by the Bridgewater Township Council, this body will now hold a closed meeting to discuss the following. And this will in the future, we'll be very specific about what the closed sessions will be about. Contract negotiations and discussions with the Somerset Regional Animal Shelter. And the second one is litigation regarding an EOC complaint. When and if matters discussed become public record, this will be made known to the public at that time. The public is excluded from said meeting, and further notice thereof is dispensed with all in accordance with sections 8 and 4A of the Open Public Meetings Act. May I have a motion to go to closed session, please?
I'll make that motion,
I'll make the
Howard.
motion.
Thank you, Alan. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
what we're going to do, the council and mayor will leave the TV screen at this point. We'll go off and have our separate caucus, and then we will come back. There will be no additional business transacted at that time, but the link will remain open until we come back and formally close the meeting.
I will be waiting for you, Council President.
Thank you.